Thank you for joining us on ERi-TV English News Broadcast, dear viewers, and do stay tuned for our local and international news for today, Friday, the 6th of December 2024. I'm Heaven Johannes, your news anchor for this session. We shall first begin with the major headlines. President Isaias meets and holds talks with Kenyan politician Raila Odinga. Eritrean delegation presents national statement at the United Nations Convention to combat desertification. Beijing sanctions U.S. defense fires over Taiwan. And Russia closed EU state's consulate in St. Petersburg. In our domestic news, President Isaias Afwerki met and held discussions this afternoon with Kenyan politician Raila Odinga, who is a candidate for the chairmanship of the African Union Commission. During the meeting held at Dundon Hall, President Isaias and Mr. Raila Odinga exchanged views on key African issues of mutual interest, economic partnerships, the role of infrastructure in economic development, as well as internal conflicts and security challenges. Speaking to ERINA, Mr. Odinga explained that the purpose of his one-day visit to Eritrea was to share perspectives on various African matters with President Isaias, particularly to seek his endorsement and vote for the upcoming election of the chairmanship of the African Union Commission, scheduled for February 2025 at the 38th African Union Leaders Summit. It is worth noting that Mr. Raila Odinga, who served as Kenya's Prime Minister from 2008 to 2013, is campaigning for the chairmanship of the African Union Commission. Eritrea's delegation, led by Mr. Samere Amlesom, presented the country's national statement at the 16th Conference of Parties of the United Nations Convention to combat desertification. The conference, held in Riyadh from December 2nd to 13th, focuses on addressing desertification, land degradation, and drought. In his address, Mr. Samere Amlesom, Director General of Agricultural Extension at the Ministry of Agriculture, commended Saudi Arabia for hosting COP16 and congratulated it on assuming the presidency. Mr. Samere outlined Eritrea's ongoing efforts to combat environmental challenges, including the development of drought mitigation plans, the expansion of water conservation, the promotion of climate-smart agriculture, and the enhancement of soil and water conservation practices. The country is also implementing disaster risk management and climate change adaptation projects across its agroecological zones. Mr. Samere further emphasized Eritrea's commitment to the global goal of land degradation neutrality and highlighted the country's initiatives to combat sand and dust storms, particularly through date palm plantations along the coastal areas. COP16, which continues until December 13th, places a special focus on drought mitigation. Eritrea's delegation is actively participating in plenary and technical sessions, including discussions on sand and dust storms and drought consultation meetings. On other news, the National Union of Eritrean Youth and Students, in collaboration with the Department of Agriculture in the Central Region, organized a workshop in Asmara yesterday aimed at promoting the integrated participation of youth in agricultural development. Part of the Ministry of Agriculture's 2024 up to 2028 five-year strategic plan, the workshop focused on enhancing the role of youth in advancing agricultural development. Held in the Godive subzone, the workshop included presentations on key topics such as soil and water conservation, plant development, and insights from experiences in animal and marine resources development. Mr. Samson Kufle, head of the National Union of Eritrean Youth and Students in the Central Region, highlighted the vital contribution of youth to both agricultural and broader socio-economic development. He stressed the importance of the workshop in further strengthening their involvement in the sector. Mr. Abraham Iyasu from the Department of Agriculture in the Central Region emphasized the critical role youth play in ensuring the availability of safe and nutritious food for all. He noted that the workshop was aimed at fostering collaboration with executive institutions to ensure the effective implementation of tasks. Ms. Tablet Tawolde, administrator of Godaif subzone, commended the success of the Green campaign launched in 2021, pointing to its positive outcomes. She called for continued efforts to increase youth participation in all development programs. Significant efforts are underway to strengthen the organizational capacity of the National Association of Eritrean War-Disabled Veterans in the southern Red Sea region, stated Mr. Mohammed Nur Idris, head of Organizational Capacity and Information. In a recent meeting with the association members, Mr. Mohammed Nur emphasized that improving organizational capacity is essential to achieving the association's goals. He urged war-disabled veterans to become actively engaged in the association to benefit from its services and initiatives. Mr. Mohammed Nur explained that the association, which is dedicated to improving the challenge faced by disabled veterans, has been focused on providing capacity-building support to its members. He also noted that efforts are underway to enhance the economic strength of the association. Mr. Mohammed Nur highlighted the expansion of microfinancing and savings programs as a key component of these efforts to improve the livelihoods of war-disabled veterans. He encouraged members to organize into small groups and participate in profitable small businesses as part of this initiative. In turn, participants called for the reopening of the artificial limb factory in the region, which has been inactive, as well as the introduction of vocational training programs to create financial opportunities. Additionally, they advocated for the reorganization of local branches to improve overall effectiveness. This wraps up our domestic news for this session. Dear viewers, we'll be back with the international ones after the short break. Welcome back. Beijing has imposed sanctions on more than a dozen U.S. military firms and senior executives in response to the latest approval of arms sales by Washington to Taiwan, the Chinese Foreign Ministry announced yesterday. Last week, the U.S. State Department authorized an additional $385 million in military sales to Taiwan, following a package of up to $2 billion approved in October, announced a month after a $567 million deal which was signed off in September. The latest agreement seriously violates the One China principle, severely interferes in China's internal affairs, and seriously undermines the country's sovereignty and territory, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said at a press conference. In response to the latest arms deal, the assets of 13 U.S. defense companies in China will be frozen from Thursday on, and the firms will be prohibited from engaging in trade and cooperation with Chinese entities and individuals, the Foreign Ministry said. The same measures will apply to the 6 listed senior executives who will also be denied visas or entry to China. The ministry further urged the U.S. to immediately stop arming Taiwan and stop condoning and supporting the island's independence forces. Only a handful of nations currently recognize the island's sovereignty, with most of the world complying with Beijing's request that it be seen as part of the People's Republic of China. In November, Chinese President Xi Jinping identified the Taiwan issue as among the key boundaries that the U.S. must respect in order to maintain a balanced relationship between the two countries. On our last news, the Russian Foreign Ministry has ordered the closure of the Polish Consulate General in St. Petersburg and declared its employees persona non grata. The move comes in response to similar action taken by Warsaw. Moscow has notified Warsaw that the mission will be closed from January 2025 and ordered 3 Polish diplomats to leave the country before this date. In October, Warsaw ordered the closure of the Russian consulate in the city of Poznan and the expulsion of its employees after a suspected saboteur was arrested. Polish foreign minister claimed that Russian intelligence was behind the alleged conspiracy. Moscow has denied all the allegations as nonsensical. In Thursday's statement, the Russian Foreign Ministry explained Moscow's decision to close the Polish consulate. The statement noted that in recent years, Polish authorities have implemented an openly hostile policy towards Russia, almost completely dismantled the architecture of Russian-Polish relations built over many decades and have openly declared the need to inflict a strategic defeat on the country. According to the ministry, one of the manifestations of this anti-Russian orientation was the closure of the Russian consulate general in Poznan under a far-fetched pretext. Moscow has been taking and will continue to take tough countermeasures to any unfriendly steps towards Russia, the statement concluded. This wraps up our news for this session, dear viewers. Time for a quick recap of the major headlines. President Isaias meets and holds talks with Kenyan politician Raila Odinga. Eritrean delegation presents national statement at the United Nations Convention to combat desertification. Beijing sanctions U.S. defense firms over Taiwan. And Russia closed EU states consulate in St. Petersburg. This was the World on ERi-TV with English news broadcast. Dear viewers, thank you for joining and have a good weekend.